Today's discussion takes us deep into one of the most harrowing realities of modern life, a crisis that strikes without warning, obliterating lives in its path. If you've been following the headlines over the past few years, you're no stranger to the opioid epidemic. Yet, the numbers and stories behind this ongoing catastrophe are far more chilling than they appear at first glance. Addiction, as relentless as it is indiscriminate, has gripped societies far beyond its origins, leaving devastation in its wake. In the United States alone, more than 80,000 lives were lost to fentanyl overdoses in the first 9 months of 2022. Imagine that, a number so staggering that it feels like a war zone statistic. And if you've ever walked through a major city in the US or Canada, you've likely seen the haunting signs of this epidemic. Paramedics rushing to revive overdose victims, or vending machines dispensing Narcan, an antidote to opioids, to stem the tide of death. But how do we get here? What fueled the ascent of fentanyl to become one of the leading causes of death in a country of such affluence and power? To trace the roots of this crisis, we must go back to the 1990s. Purdue Pharma entered the scene with a game-changing product, or so it seemed. OxyContin, a time-release version of the opioid oxycodone, was heralded as a breakthrough in pain management. Approved by the FDA in 1995, it was aggressively marketed as a safe, effective solution for chronic pain. Purdue's promotional campaigns downplayed the risks of addiction, claiming the time-release formula would deter abuse. But this miracle drug had a fatal flaw. Circumventing the time mechanism was as simple as crushing the pills or dissolving them in water, releasing the entire dose at once and inducing a euphoric high. Even without tampering, the addictive nature of OxyContin was undeniable. Doctors prescribed it for everything from mild injuries to persistent headaches, often without a full understanding or acknowledgement of the long-term consequences. And while opioids had been classified as controlled substances in the 1970s, requiring a prescription, obtaining them was alarmingly easy. A visit to the doctor for whiplash or a sprained ankle could result in a prescription that unlocked the door to addiction. This wasn't ignorance, it was systemic negligence. Despite decades of research highlighting the dangers of opioids, prescriptions continued to rise. Many suspect financial incentives played a role, with pharmaceutical and insurance companies reaping enormous profits. For doctors, whether motivated by pressure or convenience, opioids became a default solution to pain management. The body's tolerance to opioids develops rapidly, sometimes within days. This escalating need for higher doses often pushes individuals toward heroin, perceived as cheaper and more potent. Yet in many cases, heroin is no safer. Increasingly, it's laced with fentanyl, a synthetic opioid up to 100 times stronger than morphine. Even minuscule amounts of fentanyl can be lethal, and its widespread availability has turned every dose into a potential death sentence. Fentanyl's rise is fueled by its cost-effectiveness. Manufactured in labs across China and India, it's trafficked into North America through Mexican drug cartels. A single kilogram of fentanyl can kill 500,000 people, and with no regulation over its distribution, users have no way of knowing how much of this deadly substance they're consuming. The DEA has discovered counterfeit pills containing up to 5.1 milligrams of fentanyl, more than double the lethal dose. This crisis is not about them. It's about all of us. Society tends to stigmatize addiction, labeling those who suffer as weak or irresponsible. But the reality is far more complex and far more human. Many who fall into addiction start out as ordinary people, students, professionals, parents, dealing with pain or injuries that spiraled into something far beyond their control. Addiction rewires the brain, altering chemistry and decision-making. It isn't a moral failing. It's a trap set by a perfect storm of circumstances. Consider this. You're in a car accident, left with debilitating pain that disrupts your life. Your doctor prescribes a 7-day course of opioids, assuring you they're safe. Within 3 days, you're hooked. Once the prescription runs out, desperation sets in. For many, this is the start of a downward spiral that leads to stronger drugs, hidden dependencies, and often devastating consequences. What makes fentanyl particularly terrifying is its unpredictability. It's often disguised in other drugs, meaning users may not even realize they're consuming it. This is why overdoses have skyrocketed. Even those who don't consider themselves addicts can fall victim to a single, fatal dose. The only way forward is through awareness and empathy. Instead of viewing addiction as a moral failing, we must understand it as a public health crisis. Judging those affected only deepens the divide and hinders efforts to address the root causes. If you pass someone struggling on the street, it costs nothing to replace judgment with a moment of compassion. The opioid epidemic isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a call to action. No one is immune to its reach, and the more we understand its origins and impacts, the better equipped we are to combat it. These discussions are not just important, they're essential. They remind us of the shared humanity that binds us and the fragility of the structures we rely on. Let this be a moment to reflect, not only on the crisis, but on the resilience it demands from us all. Until we meet again, take care to face the world with open eyes and an open heart.